Aleph, 33 at the top. Halacha Ches. Shavuos Shav. Now, till now, the Masechta was talking about, and we're going to bring everything together tonight. Shavuos, till now, the Masechta was talking about Shavuos Bitui. Shavuos Bitui is a Shavuos where you express something that you either did or will do, expect to that you did do or expect to do, and it ended up that you did not do it, or you said you do, or you expect that you won't do something, or you stated that you didn't do something, and it ended up that you did do it. Okay, those are Shavuos Bitui. Bitui literally means an expression. It's the connection of the name to the type of oath is obscure to me, but somehow they're connected. Now talking about Shavuos Shav. Shavuos Shav, the Gemara, the Mishnah will define at the end of the Mishnah. Shavuos Shav chayavin al zdona makos. If you intentionally take a Shavuos Shav, then we flog you. Val shigagos, if you do it unintentionally, you don't bring a korban like a Shavuos Bitui, you're potter, you're exempt from a korban. Beis Shavuos Shav, what is considered to be a Shavuos Shav? Nish Balashano says, if a person had a token oath to change something which is well known to in people. In other words, Mishnah gives an immediate example. If he said about a pillar of stone, she shows off that it's gold. Al ish, on a man, shu isha, nowadays you can't tell, of course, but on a man that is a woman, Alisha Sheish, or that a woman is a man. If he took an oath and said which is not possible to take place, such as if I not did, if an oath that he swears that he saw a camel flying through the air. He saw a snake the size of the beam in the olive press. Amr Eid in Bo Vaiduni. If a person said to also, although we're going to get into this later, more detail later on, a person said to witnesses, "Come and testify in my court case," and they said, "Shavuos shelo na'idecha," that they said a shavuos which that we're not going to testify for you, so they're going to refuse to testify. Nishba lebatos a mitzvah, a case where people generally take a shvuah to cancel a mitzvah. Sholasos sukkah, they took a shvuah not to make a sukkah. Sholito lulav, not to take a shake of lulav. Sholila laniach tefillin, not to put on tefillin. Zeu Shavuos Shav. That's also, all these are Shavuos Shav. Shavin al Zona Marcos, if you did it intentionally, you get flogged. If you did it al Shir Gosa, if you did it unintentionally, you were a potter, you are exempt. Okay, all these are Shavuos Shav, changing things which are obviously true, and you are lying about them, and besides that, you're taking an oath to support your bogus claim to boot. Okay? Time to little there. That a Shavuos Shav is if a person says, "I swear if I did not see, I swear that I did see, or I swear that if I did not see, then X. I swear that I said that if I did not see on this pathway, to 600,000 people, like those who left Egypt." So it says it says Efshar here with the Yud, so that's why it's read Efshar. This is what we had back in the Dorim, by the way. It's not possible to have 600,000 people on the street. That's according to some the definition of Shusa Rabin. Obviously, it's possible to have Shusa Rabin. Furthermore, skipping a line because Elokin on Kaima is a mistake. Skipping to the next period. Va diklitianus, some general, some Greek general. This fellow. Kadnachos Tamon, when he went down to Egypt, so he went down with he made Kuvchav Rivon, he had 120,000 people. 120 times 10,000, meaning 1,200,000 people. So you see, it's possible to congregate massive amounts of people, right? Ella was, so rather what it means is Kianan Kaimi and Bria Achas. A person takes an oath that he saw all 600,000 people at once. That is extremely unlikely. We don't believe that, and therefore that's going to be Shavuos Shav, and therefore he has to get flogged. Okay? if he did it intentionally. Now, similarly, Im Lori Sinosh Krikoros Pesabad. Takes note if I did not see a snake the size of the beam of an owl press. Wait a minute. Who says that that's not that can't occur? Don't we know that the serpent, the snake, belonged to Shvor Malka, the one of the kings of Persia? Bola Gamalain, they used to swallow camels. Bola Kron used to swallow carriages. Kabah Mitlina, when the time came to kill it, I soon pachlin the Gamalin, they brought hides of camels, Umal Nirson Tevin, and they stuffed them full of straw. Yavambun Gumin, they put coals inside the straw. Ubalun, the snake swallowed the hides, thinking that they were camels, and it burnt up because of the coals. So we see there are very large snakes. Could be somebody saw the fire coming out of the mouth of this large serpent, and that's how the dragon, its legend began. Okay. All right. So if that's the case, what's the exaggeration? Why Shavuos Shavim? Furthermore, I saw the hide of a certain snake. Abid al Tamnim Mesusla. It had to be spread on eight pillars. It was so large. Shabbat Yaakov said, I saw the hide of a snake. Solik, it was being brought up, it should be Bikronin Limachusa, being brought up in carriages to the king. It was so large. So Shmuel said, you know what, of course they're very large snakes. Even much larger than the beam of the olive press. Rather, when he said, the reason why Shmuel Shav is the beam of the olive press is square. It's four sides, not round. So therefore, this guy took an oath that he saw a square snake. That's why we flog him, because there's no such thing as a square snake. So, swallow the carriage, right? It says in Vim Vimruva, this Kotan, right? If we're talking about the shape, not about the size, so why did it say a snake the size of the beam in the base in the olive press? Say a snake the shape of a beam in the olive press. So it says Rabbi Tanya said, Kini, you're right, that's what it should say. It say, however, the derech of the Tana is always to speak in extremes. For example, it says, Tinan, it says in our Mishnah, Shavuos Shav is a person takes oath, they saw Gamal Prech Bavir, he saw a camel flying in the sky, right? A flying camel. So it says when Nisneach Bar Prech Bavir, it's the same thing, a mouse flying in the sky, right? Nothing flies in the sky, time the morally. So therefore, even a mouse wouldn't be flying. So therefore, why did it say in the Mishnah the case of a camel flying through the air? Why not a mouse flying through the air? So therefore, we say that our Tana nevertheless wants to take exaggerated cases and discuss them. So that's why Enoch Hanami, the truth is that even a small snake would be out of the question because of being a true shvua, because he's taking a shvua that he saw a square snake. Okay, so the Mishnah likes exaggerating.
I told you that the FAA has a logo. It's not official, but it was on a T-shirt. It shows a picture of a pig with wings.
What pig was
it? Says, if it flies, the FAA controls it.
Okay. So, I don't remember that, but okay.
Now, is there a difference between Shavuos Shav and Shavuos Sheker?
Yeah, Shavuos Sheker we haven't gotten to yet.
Some of these Shavuos Sheker?
No, the Gemara is actually going to get to it on the base. These are not Shavuos Sheker, you'll see why. The difference is quite fine. Not a great difference, but there is a difference. It says the Gemara, Shulman said there's nothing, we had this a couple of times in Yerushalmi, there's nothing square which is created in the 6 days of creation. Just like blue, doesn't appear, is very imprevalent in nature. So to square. Right, square is very imprevalent. So it says, Gemara, is that true? Hey, so Rabbi Brachi asked a question about time. Nina, didn't we learn Gufa Beres, the size of a Beres is Kigrisa Kilki, is like a Kilki legume, Meruba, and it's squared. So we see that at least Tsaras comes in squares. Leprosy. Says, continuing on with this mission in the Goyim, Mokum Agris, the place which a tzaras takes up is Teisha Adoshos, is the size of 9 lentils. Mokum Adosh, the place of a lentil, is Arba Soros, is 4 hairs. Nitzu Shloshim Shei Soros, so there's 36 hairs in tzaras. So all this is part of a kasha. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef says, no. Kogamar, by virtue of the fact it says that you square it off in taking the measurements, so that tells us, She'ena Meruba, that actually the tzaras is not square. You just, if it's squared off, it should take up the same amount of space as what we're talking over here. The grisa kilki also as if it's squared off. But Echnami, the tzaras itself is not squared. So it says, why does it say then squared? Yarbino, that we want you squared off in order to measure it properly, but it itself does not come square. It says, more, what about Vaniga? It's a certain type of creepy crawly thing which is square. It says, well, it's not square. It ties itself up into knots. It ties itself into knots, so therefore it looks square, but in reality it's not at all square. Says Marvista Boyle Meimar Vaniva de Pila. Aniva de Pila is a certain type of grape, and I've never seen a square grape, but maybe used to have an ad on the radio a few years ago for Corbett Canyon wine comes in square bottles. So maybe they make it from the square grapes. So Vaniva de Pila, this certain type of grape. So it says more ogum ilamata. It's square on top, but round on the bottom. I have no idea what they're talking about. Yeah, what's the matter? You don't know your grapes? Okay. So it says some say, you know what? The truth is, Lomar Shigamliya Elba Brios. Shigamliya meant by living creatures. It could be that vegetation comes in squares. You know any flowers which grow in a square? In what? Not that I'm aware of, no. None of them are shaped in square. The what? Yeah, but they're no squares. No, not squares. So the Tanya came, we learned Meruba Ba'ichlin, but nevertheless, Gemara does say that there's squares in foodstuffs. Again, I don't know any fruit or vegetable which is square. I mean, I guess you can make a square steak, but square meal, right? What do we know? The microwave packages are all square, right? So, okay, so they mean rectangle too. They're not that, but sure. Taike Meruba Eichlin, there's squares in foodstuffs. Vein Merubius, there's no squares in living things. Okay. Says the Gemara Shavuos she'ein lanu yodim l'chol is a quote from Mishnah. They took a Shavuot that they don't know testimony for an individual, so that it says here loki, but it should be chayovin, because there is a carbon as well, which we're going to learn about in the next paragraph. Chayovin mishum Shavuos edus. They're liable because Shavuos edus. That's if they say they don't know testimony. So that's a shvuah which falls in the category of the unique category of shvuah, which we'll learn about in the next parak, and the assumptions that they're lying, that they actually do know testimony. However, if they took a shvuah, like our Mishnah, the shvuah was, we're not going to testify for you, not that we don't know testimony, that we're not going to testify for you. So in that case, Lokim Mishul Shavuos Bituy, if they get flogged, they're loika because of the Shavuos Bituy. The Shavuos Bituy is considered to be a case not where they deny the testimony, right? They deny testimony to Nikargo Shavuos Eidos, where they know the testimony but they refuse to testify and take a Shavuot, and later on they do testify, then the false category of Shavuos Bituy, right? Because they didn't deny that they knew, they just refused to come. So in that case, Shavuos Bituy, they transgress not only the prohibition, but they also have to bring the carbon olive yored as a result.
What if they deny? What if they say we don't testify, we're not going to do it, and they swear, and then they don't testify?
They don't what?
You said that they later on they do testify.
Yeah, so they broke their shvu. That's how they break their shvu. Otherwise, the shvu wasn't broken.
What if they just swear that they're not going to testify and they never testify? So
yeah, they never broke their shvu. They're rishoyim. They're going to burn in hell, but they're not. No, it's not a shvu's bituy. Okay. Now says Gemara a little bit of a garata. Shav v'sheker. The prohibition on taking false oaths and untrue oaths. They're both said at the same time, simultaneously. That which the ear cannot hear, nor the mouth speak. The two psukim, one which says that those who desecrate the Sabbath will surely die, and the one which says on Shabbos bring two little lambs to be the korban, which obviously means Rechal Shabbos for the Beis HaMikdash. They both stayed in the same breath. Lo tilbash shatnez, that you should not wear shatnez and gedilim tasa l'cha, but that you should wear tzitzis shneim b'divrei echad nem, where they both said it simultaneously, and that's why you can make tzitzis out of shatnez. Erva seishes sochicha, the nakedness of here means divrei echad. Okay.
Obviously, we're talking. I say there's a sheet of course.
Why do you say that? By Korbanos and Shabbos, it's not Asay Dochalosa. By Korbanos and Shabbos, it's not Asay Dochalosa. Because there's special concerns of Kosovo with Yom HaShabbos. I mean, the Biyom. Even on the day of Shabbos. And I say it's not Dochalosa, I say Shesh Bokores. So it's not because of Asay Dochalosa, I say. What? By tzitzis, so there's another shot. You don't have to make it with shatnez. Don't make linen tzitzis. Don't make linen tzitzis. Only make wool tzitzis. So the chiddush is that no, you don't have to make dafka wool tzitzis. You don't make linen. Okay, that's way out of it. So it says the Gemara weiter. It says, do not reveal the nakedness of your brother's wife. You have to say to them, it says, Yivom Yavo Alea, right? The Yovam can, so B'divrei echad nemar, they stay at the same time. Lo tzisav nachla, do not take off an inherent portion inheritance and give it to somebody who's not the heir. You have to say that it says, V'chol bas yoreshus nachla. Daughters do inherit nachlos, so even though they'll go to another shevet. So Shneim B'divrei echad nemar, they'll both say at the same time simultaneously. So that's where the contradiction could call the paradox exists. And Mashiach Shalapeh Daber, even though the normal mouth cannot say such thing, was only Shmar nor can a normal ear hear this. So too it says, none of you were here for the Mlava Malka here, were you? The Skoki Shim Mlava Malka? Well, board member what you are. So, I should have that on tape. I'm sorry.
You didn't say who it was.
So that was the topic of the guy who spoke here. He didn't really deal with it in any significant way. It says, God spoke once, but I hear twice, meaning that even though it was the Dibur Echad, when it was avekgestellt, when it came forth in the world, so then it was two diburim. Why? Because you had the two paradoxical clauses in each of these issues which coexist. Okay? But it says, my words are like fire, and fire obviously is flaming, and flaming means that well, I'm not even sure exactly the truth is, what exactly the purpose of this drasha is. Well, called Barbesh, I don't remember. And the Pnei Moshe, I think, comments on all the stuff back in the Dorim. Maybe that's supposed to, it says that my word lays goes on the pasuk and says that my words are like patishifoyte sela, like a hammer which breaks a stone. So many things come out, it explodes things in all directions. So Torah Soto has many different components, many different ideas which are not necessarily in perfect harmony. Now, we're going to get to the difference between Shavuos Shav and Shavuos Sheker. Okay? It's an important distinction. You asked this about before. Shavuos Shav, Shavuos Shav, what is the Shavuos Shav? Nishba l'shanos se'yidu la'adam. He took an oath to change something which is known to individuals. Now, Shavuos Sheker, that is that's a Shavuos Shav. Shavuos Sheker is nishba la'achlif. Shavuos Sheker is where he takes a shvua to exchange in other words, in our Mishnah, he said, I saw a snake, which was, let's say, square, according to what the Gemara said. So obviously that's an exaggeration. And if he takes an oath on that, it's a Shavuos Shav, but he's not changing anything. When we talk about changing, we mean that he says that...
the camel flying?
What?
The camel flying?
He's not changing anything. He's making up an exaggeration. The Shavuos Sheker, according to him, is where there was something is known to be true, and I take an oath that the opposite is true. In other words, let's say that I take an oath that let me example, the Sears Tower is 115 stories high. That's a sheker, right? Because the Sears Tower is 110 stories high, right? So that's a Shavuos Sheker, according to what you say. If I said that the Sears Tower is so tall that it reaches up into the clouds, so that might be a Shavuos Shav, but that's not going to be a Shavuos Sheker. In other words, maybe I'm exaggerating, but it's not the same thing as exchanging. Okay, L'shanos Seidu is not the same thing as La'achlif. One is to embellish, the other is to lie.
But the camel flying is more than an embellishment. Camels don't fly. So
yeah, but you're not exchanging anything.
It's not the same as a false witness.
Right, it's not the same as lying. What?
Camels walk. So you're exchanging something by saying that a camel is flying. It never happened.
Well, no, right. You're saying, I saw a camel flying, right? So it's not, you're not talking, if you said this Reuven the camel was flying instead of walking, that'd be sheker. But you just said, I saw Reuven the camel flying, then that's shav. It's a hard distinction. I don't know, I know, I don't know if I have it myself. But the idea is that when I'm changing something, then that's considered to be a Shavuos Sheker. If I'm not changing something, I'm telling a tall tale, that's considered to be Shavuos Shav. Still no good, right? Okay.
You know what? The Pnei Moshe makes a slightly different distinction.
Yeah.
He says that a Shavuos Sheker is where you swear falsely about something that's not commonly known.
No, see, that's the next case. That's the next distinction. That's Rabbi Yaakov Bar Achos, the distinction. I don't know if the Gemara knows that before Rabbi Yaakov Baracha comes along. Rabbi Yaakov Baracha is going to say that. That's the next line, so I don't know. This will make you happier, but I don't know if the Gemara is flowing into this and there was no separate earlier statement, which is what I was just trying to explain, or this is what the Gemara, the Gemara is saying separately. I don't know. But be that as it may, Rabbi Yaakov Baracha says, if two people know, not more than two, the truth about a certain thing, should be Zui, everybody changes it, Zui Shavuos Sheker. That's a lie. If you say, everybody knows, like, not everybody knows, only two people know, right? Two people know the truth about the face, I had in mind, Clinton, but I didn't want to say. Okay, two people had in mind. Two people know that Clinton had an affair with what's her name, Monica. Thank you. So Clinton goes up and says, "I did not have relations with this woman, that woman Lewinsky." So now, if only two people know about the affair, and he lies, so that's a Shavuos Sheker, because it's not Yadua. Shavuos Shav is Nishba L'Shanas Yadua. If three people or more know about him and Monica, when he said it, though, he lied on television, then that would be a Shavuos Shav. Okay, you see the distinction now? Again, I don't know if the Gemara previously was coming out to Rabbi Yaakov Baracha, but that's what Rabbi Yaakov Baracha says. So, which is common knowledge.
Fact, only it's a question of how many people know about it.
That's right. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, that's a finer line, but I like that because that blends with what because
No, I knew you would like that.
Yeah.
No, I have no problem. I know. The question was what the previous line
before
meant.
he got up in front of his news conference, only two people knew, he and Monica. So that was originally
Sheker.
could have been a sheker.
Right.
Then when everyone found out, then he swears again that it's a show.
Right. Okay. So they actually take
It
it.
actually makes sense just for the word show. It's
Yeah.
like for naught.
Right.
It's for naught because everybody knows it's really false.
Right.
Good.
Right. That's absolutely true. Okay. Rabbi Law, B'Shem Rabbi Law said, "Afilu yadu l'shnayim ve'echad b'sof ha'olam makiro." Even if the three people are not present here, but let's say two people are here, and the third guy, what's his name, Vernon Jordan or wherever it is somewhere else, right? So then that's also Shavuos Shav. They don't all have to be here. The three, it says we can be anywhere. Ma'amav Kabbanim, what's the between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lezer? The difference is like this: Shina bifnei shnayim. If you took an object in front of two people, said, "See this piece of leather? It's actually a piece of wood," and then he threw it into the sea, right? Now, this is actually the Shara puts it in here. Ma'amav Kabbanim. And besides that, one guy and the other one in the world knows if it's metal or wood, right? Then he threw it into the sea. And they gave warning because of Shavuos Shav. So Daita Rabbi Yochanan ain't like it. He doesn't get malchus because it was the wrong warning, because it's not Shavuos Shav. Why is it not Shavuos Shav? Because there are only two people here who know it, right? When Rabbi Lezer, however, Daite Rabbi Lezer logo, because according to Rabbi Lezer, as long as the two people here know it, someone else knows it, so then it makes three. Okay? Now, he's Rubo Mishum Shavuos Sheker. In the same case, if they gave Masra because of Shavuos Sheker, so then in that case, Daite Rabbi Lezer, according to Rabbi Lezer, it should be Eino Loke. You have to get Malchus because not Shavuos Sheker, because three people know about it, two here and one somewhere else. Rabbi Yochanan, it should still be, again, it should be Loke. He does get Malchus because he holds that it is a Shavuos Sheker, since there aren't three guys here who know about it, because the third guy is somewhere else in the somewhere else where you can't testify as part of the Beis Din. Says more Rabbi B'Shem, Rabbi Yehuda said, Afilu pita urka v'marganisa. You know how far Shavuos Shav goes? If a person took an oath about an egg, then it's a pearl. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Even. That's a classic case of Shavuos Shav. So says the Gemara, what do you mean is El Kigon Bita Varganisa, not Garganisa. It's cases like that, which are cases where there's going to be considered to be Shavuos Shav. Tiny we learned Kashem Shidra Havai Mutarim, just like Shavuos taken for exaggerated purpose under severe circumstances are permitted. Kach Shavuos Havai Mutarim. So to Shavuos taken under duress are mutar. In other words, you don't have to they're not binding. So it says the Gemara. But time we learn Shavuos Havai Asurin. Then we learn now was not allowed to take a Shavuos Havai. So Rabbi Yirmiyah Shem Rabbi Das said, "Kan b'mamidim, kan b'she'ein mamidim." It depends. That which it says that it's also by where a person says, "I meant what I said and said what I meant." So therefore, since he stands his ground, we don't say that he was exaggerating in any way, shape, or form, right? So therefore, it's not a Shavuos Havai. When, however, he's not mamid, when he says, "Well, I was exaggerating a little bit," so in that case, he's not considered to be. He's not considered to have to. What? To have to make kapara for Shavuos Havai. Because it was, again, when it's a clear-cut exaggeration, it doesn't seek to defend in any way or shape or form. So it's an exaggeration, that's going to be okay. Says the Gemara, I feel time you can even say kama amidim. That in both cases he's makbid. He wants to be meticulous in making sure his shvuos are proper, but rather and go through the entire process. But kam b'shem kam shvuos on the chosav, when he takes the shvuah and makes it pertain to his property. Shavuos the chosai alai, by saying a shvuah that his property should be forbidden upon him if XYZ occurs or does something, whatever it is. The chosav asurin. So that we say, you know what? In that case, the shvuos are also. Lilkos ain't a like, but to get malchus, he doesn't get malchus. So it's interesting the economy which we're making here. We're saying that the guy who what? What are you looking at? Yeah, exaggerated shvuos. So the guy takes exaggerated shvuah. It's a valid shvuah. It does work. And when it's exaggerated shvuah is a shvuah. But it's about a case like this. It's a little bit difficult. It's about a case like this. A guy takes a shvuah savoy and says, if the shvuah savoy is not true, then let all my property be usher upon me. So now, it turns out what he's saying is not true. But he wants to have malchus instead. So does he have to usher all his property upon himself? Or does he want to get malchus? So the Gemara answer actually holds that most people would rather give up all the property and not get malchus. So therefore, in that case where he took the shvuah savoy, even though it's exaggerated, his property doesn't become usher to him. Malchus he won't get. Is that clear what I'm saying? Yeah, he said, so there, the shvuah savoy was really like a clause. He said, if what I'm saying is true or untrue, then my property should become usher upon me or not usher upon me. So that works. That shvuah savoy is actually in effect the shvuah savoy. So when it says that shvuah savoy is mutter, it just means you don't get malchus. But it says shvuah savoy asurin, it means that if you made your property contingent on shvuah savoy, you lose your property. Okay? Okay. Says the Gemara, B'chiski Omar, 3 lines to the bottom. Aheinu mishtabal train, dinun train. Somebody takes a shvua on 2, that it is 2. Like him shvua shav, that also is shvua shav. It's a chiddush. Actually, this is where I always understood shvua shav more. He takes a shvua for naught, literally. Unnecessary shvua. Rabbi Nachman B'Shem Yishlogi said, Ahein, top of your chassan, Ahein l'chamei mitra nochi. Somebody sees rain falling down. From he says, Kiri, master, and master refers to Rebbe Sham's language of Shua. Pale berichsin. There's a lot too much in the puddles or in the pools. In other words, there's too much water coming down, and this Kiri, master, is the language of Shua. So, like him Shua Shav, he takes a Malchus called Shua Shav. It's not being mispal, it's just exclaiming that Shua Shav. Rabbi Yaakov B'Shem Rabbi Boon B'Shem Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Nachman said, Chavdal Polios, there were 24 large cities, so Yehudarim in the south, the Kulan Charval Shvua Shav, Sheyemes. They all became destroyed because people were taking Shvua Shavs too frivolously, even though they were true. The Chsiv says, La Shav, for naught, Yiki says, B'neichem, I smote your kids. So actually they got punished for they were punished for saying, I swear, I took an oath, all those things which actually were too much, right? And even though they were true, they're saying, I find many times people say, I swear to God that X, Y, Z, right? Of course, it's also to say that on several accounts, but even if you're telling the absolute truth, according to him, you transgress this of Shvua Shav.
So this Gemara actually raises some questions. Kiri. What are the elements of Shvua that make it liable?
Yeah, it probably comes up later in the Masechta. It must, yeah. Okay, even though we have no recollection of such, but it probably does. Seems like this is Churban by Sheni. Yeah. Seems it's Churban by Sheni. The Shavi case is just a statement of prediction. In other words, for matters of naught, I'm going to smite your kids down. So, but it's easy to happen during the second base with the spirit. Okay, Shvua Sh'ochal Kikarzu. A Shvua that I'm going to eat this piece of bread. Or Shvua Sh'lochlen. Shvua that I'm not going to eat this piece of bread. Rishona Shvua is Vita. The first Shvua, actually it's not or, it's both sequentially. Rishona, the first one is Shvua Vitui, right? It's an expression of intent. Bashnia Shvua Shav. Second one is Shvua Shav. Why is it Shvua Shav? Because he can't refrain from eating it, right? Because he took a Shvua, he's going to eat it, so therefore he can't refrain. So that Shvua is just a Shvua Shav. Achla, the beach ate it. Avral Shvua Shav. He transgressed the Shvua Shav because the second Shvua was against that which is well known to be his first Shvua. However, Loachla, if he did not eat it, Avral Shvuas Bitui, then he transgressed Shvuas Bitui. Why he transgressed Shvuas Bitui? Because he took a Shvua first and he is going to eat it, right? So therefore, the Shvuas Bitui he transgresses. Now, we're going to discuss that in some detail. Shvua Shlocha Kikarzu. A person said, a Shvua, I'm not going to eat this loaf of bread. Shvua Shlochlena, because Shvua, I'm not going to eat it. Shvua Shlochlena, I said it again, Shvua, I'm not going to eat it. Eino Chayv El Achas. He's only liable to one prohibition. Why is he only liable for one prohibition? No, he ate from it. Right, Shvua ain't Shvua Chalal Shvua. Once you took one Shvua, you can't take another Shvua from the same object. Okay, that's going to be the theme of our sugya here. So, Dover She'il ben Dorim also B'Shua's Mutter says more, wait a minute, I don't like that. Because this is part of the topic of a conversation of an area where it says that by Nedorim it's Aser, and by Shavuos it's mutter. And if it's about Shvua Chalal Shvua, then it's the same parameters as Neder Chalal Neder. If it works by both, it works by both. If it doesn't work by both, it doesn't work by both. So therefore, how can you say that this is one of the distinctions between Shavuos and Nedarim? So it says the Gemara, lo asi ela k'masdisa. Masti difference is based on the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, echad dvarim shatzu ve'echad dvarim shalacherim. Both his own stuff and matters, stuff which belongs to others. Echad dvarim shalacherim mamish, both things which are of no substance. Ve'echad dvarim sheyesh be'em mamish. Also things which do have a substance. On that, Shavuos works. It's actually Mishnah before Daf Tezvav. Shavuos works on Dvarim Shem Ben Mamish. What does it mean Shavuos works on Dvarim Shem Ben Mamish? How does it work on Dvarim Shem Ben Mamish? What? Right. You can take a Shavuos not to sleep, but you can't take a neder not to sleep. So that's an advantage of Shavuos over Nedorim, right? You can address a Shavuos vis-a-vis sleeping, you can't transgress a neder vis-a-vis sleeping. The chepza. There is no chepza. There is no chepza, there's no object. So it says, Umar Rabbi Bo B'Shem Shmuel. So that's the difference between Shavuos and the Dharma on one hand. And also Rabbi Bo B'Shem Shmuel said, that was back over there, Shavuos Shenasam Pleni Lish Pleni Mona. A Shavuos that Reuven gave Shimon $100. The name of the Shavuos Nasa. Turns out he didn't give it to him. Me'achos she'ein biyado laba, ein biyado l'shavar. Since you can't take a Shavuos and be believed on the future, so therefore there's no Shavuos on the past as well. So therefore in this case we say that the guy is exempt from Shavuos, right? Right, the guy is exempt from Shavuos. A guy is exempt from, what? That's not exempt, he's exempt from the korban brought on Shavuos. What? Korban brought on Shavuos because it has to be something which is shaykh to both the future and the past. If you're talking about a case where you're talking about a third party, Reuven gave Shimon $100, you have no control over that. Since you have no control over that, so therefore you can't make a Shavuos over that. I mean, you can, but you're not chayav for a korban Shavuos if you lie. You're only chayav for korban Shavuos for right, something which concerns you specifically, not something which concerns a third party. Okay? So that's actually a severity. Well, the severity by neder over Shavuos is by Shavuos. By neder, it can apply. One second. Shavuos only works by things which are relevant to the past and the future. Whereas neder can work also on what? Marai Baba B'Shem Shmuel. This is a Gemara on Daf Tes Zayin Amud Beis. It said on Tes Zayin Amud Beis or Tes Vav Amud Beis. It said Marai B'Shmuel Bar Baba B'Shem Shmuel. Shmuel Shenasan Pleni Lish Pleni. A Shmuel about a third party that Reuven gave Shimon $100. Needs the Shmuel Nasa terms that he didn't give. Ma'achoshem Biyodo Laba. So even though a Shmuel is taken, since the Shmuel cannot be taken on the future, right? Because it's not in your hands to do something in the future when we're talking about a third party. So therefore, it doesn't work. If he said Reuven will give, it doesn't work. If he said Reuven did give, it took the Shvuah, it doesn't work either. So Ashkech Tani al Tarveon. So they found that it says concerning both of them that Zeh chomer l'sha'avar mil'sha'aba. Vis-a-vis the past, it's more severe than the future. Shomer lo ochal. The person says, I will not. I have a kol achas v'achas. He's liable for each and every one. So what we see here is that, still not sure what you see, 1 second.
Why is he liable for each low account? Is it two different types of groups, or is it the same?
Is liable for saying that he did something.
Yeah, but why is he liable for each one?
Shvuah is not called shvuah in the future, not in the past. Because you can only do or not do something once in the future, so you can make one plan about it. But the past, it doesn't matter.
But in the first case, why is he hired once? Since really the shoe is about himself.
What is it about himself?
He is not going to eat.
Yeah.
So if he eats, it still doesn't make a difference how many times he's uttered. It's still the same person who's eating.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it logic. Take all that.
What?
I take all that. What I just said is logic why you're only hired once.
Why?
Because you're hired on the Gabra. The Gabra is the one.
Yeah, but no, but that's true. But where is a chomer by Nedorenberg over shvuah? So that's a problem. What's the severity of a neder over shvuah? That's what we're looking for. Because by shvuah, it's tak you only chayv once. But by nedarim, you also only chayv once.
Why not? Why are you having the one person like
You can't take a neder on top of another neder.
that? Why? Shmuel doesn't apply to the Torah.
Yeah, but I don't think you can take a neder on top of another neder either. Once you made a chepta osir upon you, so you can't make it more osir on you. If Ruvain's osir upon you, now to buy you any hanoah. So saying Ruvain's osir upon me again is going to make him more osir on me? It's not. I don't think that's the Gemara's tack here. See, now I don't see it. I thought I saw it this afternoon, but the Gemara's tack, I think, is to say that Shavuot, at least according to Rabbi Shmuel, really, but Shavuot has to be shaykh to both the Over and the Osid, and Neder doesn't have to be shaykh to both. In other words, a Shavuot, the reason why a Shavuot that Ruvain gave Shimon $100, I'm not chayav a shvuah for because I can't make on the future. I'll take a shvuah that Reuven will give Shimon $100. It's also a shvuah. But by neder, there must be such a thing. Of course, it's very simple. It's very simple. Look, I can't take a shvuah that Reuven's going to owe Shimon $100. Right? Can I take a shvuah? It makes no sense, right? I can't take such a shvuah because I can take a shvuah about myself. I can't take a shvuah about somebody else. I can take an oath that I will do something, but I can take an oath perhaps upon the past that I solemnly swear that Reuven loaned Shimon $100. But I can't take an oath about the future unless it concerns me. I can't take an oath about the future concerning somebody else, right? But by neder it makes no difference. By neder, I can make a neder on the past and a neder on the future equally, regardless of what we're dealing with. I don't have to own it. It doesn't have to be mine. It doesn't have to be anything I have to do with. I can take a neder on the future and say, the object which belongs to Shimon, which Shimon is going to give to Reuven, is also upon me from now. It doesn't matter because neder doesn't pertain to some future activity, which then can only pertain to my future activity, but neder pertains to some object, and that makes no difference who does or does not do the neder pertains to, doesn't make a difference who does the activity. It just makes a difference that the object exists. Does it make any sense what I just said? No. So look, that's what I was trying to say. Let's see inside again. It says,
So why is that?
one second, let me read inside. So what Gemara says in the fourth line down for the Gemara, where is there something where the Darim is in the Darim it's also in Shavuos is mutter? Where do we have such a thing? It's going to the mission we had earlier in the parak. Whether it's his stuff or somebody else's stuff. Whether it's passing the substance or not, a shvuah takes effect. So far, shvuah is more severe than the Darim, right? If somebody took a shvuah about the past, that Reuven gave Shimon $100, mana, but and it comes out he didn't give, so there should be a korban true in that case. No! Since I can't take a shvuah about somebody else's future activities, there's no neder, there's no shvuah about the past either. It has to be something which is shaykh for me to take upon myself in the future, in order for my shvuah about the past to work. But by neder, there are no such things. By neder, if I want to make a neder on something, even though, let's take this exact case. I take a neder and say, the object which Reuven gave to Shimon is also upon me. Does it have to be that I have some bilus over the activity in the future? Here, in order to be able to make a shvuah about the past, it has to be about something which I can be active in doing in the future. By neder is not, and so it means that it has to be a certain bilus in order to make a legitimate shvuah, a certain authority and capacity which I have in order that my shvuah should be considered to be a valid shvuah. I should be able to do the act in the future. It's not the case over here. Here it's by neder. By neder, it makes no difference if I have any ownership or any bilus over it whatsoever. I make it an usher upon me, regardless of whether I'll have any control over it. Even if it belongs to somebody else, it never will belong to me, nor ever come under my jurisdiction. The neder does take effect.
You can't not make a neder for the past either.
What?
You cannot make a neder for the past either. So, isn't that the same like it's not as humble as it is a shvuah? But you can't say that that object of Reuven's was usher to me in the past.
Right.
So that's not a neder.
Right. It's not a neder.
So, but you can make a shvuah about something in the past.
Right.
So the neder.
I agree with you. That's true. That's an advantage which shvuah has over neder. But the flip side of that is that there's an advantage which neder has over shvuah, which is that shvuah must be something which you have some control over. Neder needs no control. You're right, of course. We just mentioned something before with shvuah. Shvuah chal davar she'ein bo mamish. That's why it works historically as well. The history is a davar she'ein bo mamish, right? For me to say Reuven gave Shimon $100 is a davar she'ein bo mamish. So that's why it's a hadmin, it should work. The only reason it doesn't work is because it's not shaykh in the future. But a neder, it doesn't have to work in the future, because there's somebody saying which I have control over. It's be something where I can state something about some other object which exists. So your idea is a flaw in neder which doesn't exist by shvuah, right? But from that flaw is the flip side of an advantage which neder has over shvuah. Shvuah is chal, yes, a davar she'ein bo mamish, right? But at the same time, it's limited in which davar she'ein bo mamish can be chal on. At the same time, that is only chal davar sheyesh bo mamish. But once it's a davar sheyesh bo mamish, there's no limitation to how it's chal on a davar sheyesh bo mamish. No matter what, it can be chal. Okay? So that's actually what the Gemara is trying to say here. Okay? Now, lo achalti. If a person says, I did not eat, we just said that he's chayev al kol achos v'achos. On a shvuah in the past, so no matter how many times you said lo achalti, each time it's a separate chiyuv for korban shvuah. Each time brings a separate korban. Shvuah she'ochal kikarzu. What if a person took a shvuah that I'm going to eat this loaf of bread? Shvuah she'lo and then he said a shvuah, I'm not going to eat this loaf of bread. Okay, so there are two contradictory shvuahs. So Rishon Shvuah's Bita, the first shvuah is a shvuah's Bita, right? It's a shvuah which is anticipatory of an activity, which if he doesn't do, it's a shvuah's Bita. Hashniya shvuah's Shav. Second one is a shvuah's Shav because the second one contradicts the davar yodua. What's the davar yodua? That he's going to eat it, right? So it's that fast thing. Even though they both sound like shvuah's bitui, because they both have to do with activity which he either will or will not do, the second one actually becomes a shvuah shav. So what does he do? He's going to transgress an issur no matter what. Which issur does he transgress? So it says the Gemara, what do we do? So what do we do to him? Or said sheyochal, eat. Mutav shilabo shvuah shav, better to transgress the second shvuah, the shvuah shav, the law of shvuah's bitui, and not to transgress the shvuah's bitui. Now I looked at all the Mefarshim. All the Mefarshim say that the reason is because he should always transgress the second one. He should always transgress either less or the later shvuah. But they don't give qualitative difference between shvuah's bitui and shvuah's shav. They say it's not because when it sounds a language, it's better to transgress the shvuah shav because it's lighter in its prohibition. The shvuah's bitui, which is more severe in its prohibition. But that's not how the Shach, the Taz, all the people, Tzir and Yerushalmi quotes here on the side explain it. They say it's better to transgress the second shvuah, not the first shvuah. Right? The shvuah shav is a latter shvuah. Keep the first one you made as opposed to the second one you made. But I think that the simple way of reading is talking that shvuah's bitui is more severe. And I didn't think of it this morning. I was trying to rack my brains. Why is it more severe? But tonight I realized it's a partial reason why it's more severe. It's no korban, exactly. Right. So I don't know why they don't use that. Yeah, exactly. The korban issue. That's exactly why. Right. So that's exactly the point. Exactly. What? No, but by shvuah there's a korban even by mezid. But some shvuahs, right? Oh, that's true. No, you're right. I'm sorry. There is malchus, but you're right. But that's the problem. That's the symptom of whether it's more severe or not. And I mean, this case is going to have to get malchus, but it's the how to tell which is more severe, we could tell by the korban. Okay, now, consider vice versa. Shvuah shlo ochal kikar, so a person says, shvuah, I'm not going to eat this loaf of bread, and then he takes the shvuah shochan, the shvuah that I will eat this loaf of bread. Again, Rishon Shvuah's bitui, the first one is shvuah's bitui, that's what he's not going to do. Ushniya, the second one is a contradiction to that shvuah, no, shav. Ketzad, what do we say? Only lo shlo yochal, don't eat the piece of bread. Mutav lavar shvuah shav, better to transgress the shvuah shav, the second shvuah by itself, l'chud. Below shvuah shav ubitu. If he eats the bread, he transgresses actually both in this case, because he didn't fulfill the shvuah's bitui, and he transgresses the shvuah's. Now, how does he transgress the shvuah shav? Shulchan Rishon shvuah's bitui. Shvuah shav l'chud. He does eat it. Why is it transgress the shvuah shav? If he eats it, why does he transgress the Shavuos Shav? Shavuos Shelo Ochal Kikar Zu and Shavuos Shelo Chaleno. Shavuos Shelo Yochal. Shavuos Shav. Now I'm confused. I don't see how this works. Why? In this case, where he took a shvuah not to eat this loaf of bread, and then a shvuah to eat the loaf of bread. So the first of the shvuah is between, the second was a shvuah shav. That makes sense. So we say to him, don't eat it, but it's better to transgress the shvuah shav by itself and not the shav and the bitui together. The shav and bitui, l'chorah, that's not right. It's not a shav and bitui together. If he ate it, only transgress the shvuah's bitui. Why would he transgress the shvuah's shav? No, I'm not quite sure, but I didn't see anybody who changed it. Yeah, but what would you change it to? I don't know you would change it.
Take out the word shaw.
What?
Just take out the word shaw.
Try it. It won't work. Try it. Yeah.
He's over on the second shvuah.
Yeah. So we'd have to take out l'chud and bitui. L'chud and shav. Right. Mutav lavo shvuah shav v'lo shvuah bitui. Okay, makes sense. I don't have a better way of learning it. I obviously didn't think it through, so I'm not sure. But I guess let's leave. You're right. The only way to do it offhand is to do that. So in other words, it's the same principles we had on the first case. It makes sense. Yeah. Okay, let's just get to Amud Beis. Shvuah she'ochal kikar zeh hayoim. Person took a shvuah is going to eat this loaf of bread today, and then he said shvuah shelo ochal, and learn that Shai Teretz, and basically our Sameach should learn the same way. Shvuah she'ochal kikar zeh hayom, shvuah shelo ochal hayom v'achla. Okay, so he took a shvuah he's going to eat this loaf of bread today. Then he took a shvuah I'm not going to eat it all today. Take out the nun hay and ochlena, and he ate the piece of bread. So he kept his first shvuah, right? Will be the shir, but he canceled the second shvuah straight up, right? Very simple, because he, right? So Reish Lakish argues. Reish Lakish says it should be. I'm going to do it like Shar Teretz. Kiem la rishoina, lobita l'shnia. No, he sustained his first shvuah. Because he did eat the bread, and he didn't cancel he didn't cancel his second shvuah. He didn't nullify his second shvuah because Reish Lakish holds because the second shvuah here was I'm not going to eat, right? But that shvuah was also for him to take, right? Because it included this piece of bread, which it's a mitzvah for him to eat. So Reish Lakish holds, even where you're not mefaret, a shvuah which includes a mitzvah doesn't take effect. Okay? We hold the second shvuah does take effect unless you're mefaret, right? If you say, I'm not going to eat for these 10 days, including the night of Pesach, and night Pesach you must eat matzah, so then the second shvuah doesn't take effect, right? But if I wasn't, if I just said a shvuah I'm not going to eat, so then we hold the second shvuah does take effect. So according to us, you did transgress the second shvuah. But when Reish Lakish, even if you didn't specifically state the mitzvah which is included in your shvuah, nevertheless the second shvuah does not take effect. So if the second shvua not to eat today doesn't take effect once he already took a shvua to eat something today, and that's why he didn't go against the second shvua he took, because the second shvua he took was null and void from the beginning. Okay. All right. Well, I fell behind. It's my fault. I'm sorry. We'll have to pick up from here to again on Monday.